Hello, everyone. My name is Dianne Kaler. I'm here with another edition of the NTI PodTalk. This is the platform where we talk to people in the NTI community, students, graduates, instructors, other foodies that don't necessarily go to school or participate in the school, but are interested in food. Um, and today I am excited to have one of our instructors, Lauren Fryerson, who is not brand new instructor, but is not one that's been around for a decade. She's been around for little over a year, and I'm excited to be able to talk to Lauren. So thank you, Lauren, for being here.
Thank you. I can't believe it's already been a year. That has just flown by.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, so we'll talk a little bit about your teaching here, but before we do that, can you talk about, well, first let me just point out that you were a student at NTI, you graduated from NTI. Prior to that, though, what was your educational background and what was your like mission in life before you figured out that you wanted to specialize in nutrition?
It's so funny you asked that. And afterwards, I'll tell you the nickname or what my family used to tease me about when I first got into the nutrition world. But I honestly wanted to do youth corrections. So my undergraduate degrees are in sociology and psychology. And I went on to grad school in criminology. And since I was a little kid, I watched the movie Dangerous Minds that Michelle Pfeiffer stars in, I think in literally the early 90s. And I just thought she was so cool. And I really wanted to make a difference in at-risk youth. And during my graduate studies, I had an internship with male sex offenders in Maricopa County in Arizona.
Oh,
And
that's
I
a
was,
good one.
this was not necessarily what I thought I was going to be doing, but simultaneously, I started personal training and I was teaching group fitness classes just kind of on the side. And it was fun. And I thought someone wants to pay me to work out. Like, this is great. And I quickly realized there was this huge gap in what people were eating and how they were working out. And I'm from Boulder, Colorado. It's super crunchy, kind of healthy go-getter city. And suddenly I was living in Phoenix and I thought, oh my gosh, the rest of the world doesn't eat kale at multiple meals a day or, considers iceberg lettuce a major food group. And I really became passionate about food. And that's when I started researching different programs and the difference between like NTI and an RD program, and brought me back to Denver. And I went to the school. It was one of the best decisions I've ever made. And the ongoing joke of my family was if I was going to make meal plans for inmates, if that's really what my heart was set up to do.
Yeah. Well, wouldn't it be nice if we could get some healthier food into the prison system? But I'm not quite sure that's ever going to happen.
Yeah, it would be nice, but I don't know the bounds to do that.
Yeah. So you said you investigated going to school. Can you think of some things that made you decide to come to NTI, things about the school that really cinched it for you to want to come here?
So I can, and let's preface this with how many years ago is this now? Maybe 15, 16, 14, something, which it feels, like so long ago. But right away, when I was looking at different programs, I felt like I put things into three categories. And one was this certifications that I didn't feel like had much merit. Anybody could have, and I just thought I want something more than that. I don't want to just have the certification that in the fitness world, I have a little bit more leeway. I knew I wanted to go deeper. And then I kind of felt like I put things into two categories, something that was a little bit more holistic, like NTI, or something that was a little bit more allopathic. And I had 2 bachelors, I had an MA. I really didn't want to go to like a formal university, school necessarily, again, but I didn't align with the RD path. And so then when I was kind of looking at different holistic programs, NTI then and still now by far raises the bar. I don't think there's anything compared to it. The way that you can set up for the NAMP boards, that it was accredited, the quality of the education. And I knew that if this was going to be my, kind of forever career, there wasn't another school out there with the education and quality.
Yeah. Well, I think I tend to agree with you, and I appreciate you saying that. So, as I mentioned, you came on as an instructor here a little over a year ago, maybe right around a year ago. So tell us what you teach, and what are some of the things that you enjoy about being an instructor here at NTI?
So I'm teaching the weight management and sports nutrition class, both for independent students and the group class. And one of the things just about me and my personality, I love to teach. I've always loved to teach. I love to speak. I love to be able to break things down that I think can be really complex and just make them more simple, or teach a practical application with the mechanism or the lesson that it just kind of clicks for people.
Yeah.
So that's a huge part of it. And that's probably my fitness background and just something that I really do love. But it's really fun to see, the new class and the next generation, and people who have either been, in the professional world for a while and just doing a radical career change, getting to know students who maybe they're just doing this because they are invested in their health or a family member's health and want the best knowledge and education, or really seeing young adolescents, not adolescents, young adults, just say like, this is what I want to do. And just to be able to see the possibility in their eyes and their souls, and they're dreaming big and getting excited about what the career will look for them. It's really fun. And I honestly just think my favorite part is, because I've been in the industry for so long on fitness, and then obviously with nutrition, to be able to just tell them stories and to be able to walk through and answer questions of what it looks like in real life off the textbook.
Yeah. And I think, that's one of the really strong points about all of our instructors, is that they bring to their teaching their, not only their educational experience, whatever their, degree, certification, whatever, but they bring their clinical experience. And it is so important for our students to get that supportive learning that they get from the instructors, to help them understand how to, it helps put into context the application of the sort of academic stuff that they're learning from the curriculum. And, but then suddenly they're like, okay, now I've got all this information. What do I actually do with it? And how do I actually use it to help my clients? And that is such an important part of what the instructors bring, is that knowledge and really comfort level of actually working with clients, so that the students can see that, there is sort of an intrepidation, and there's always going to be that for new graduates as they start out. But you do develop a level of comfort in working with clients, because the passion comes through, the knowledge comes through. And when you start seeing your ability to actually help people make change in their life, that's really reaffirming. So I think that's one of the most important things. Yeah. One of the most important things that the instructors bring. So, so you are still practicing as a nutrition therapist and sports, like, are you still doing sports training and exercise training? And kind of tell me what you're doing.
I'm not. So I am very much still in the nutrition world. I was in the fitness industry for over 20 years. I started as a personal trainer and then went into group fitness. I had stopped personal training and stopped kind of staying on top of my continuing education credits there back in about 2012, when I went more full-time with nutrition, and just thought that I wanted to do more kind of functional medicine and clinical work than all of the fitness. I did continue teaching group fitness classes for about another 7-8 years until the pandemic. And I was one of those instructors that teaching spin in a mask just challenged me to the point that it wasn't fun anymore. And then I just kind of never went back. But I thought, 2 decades on a spin bike and spandex, I put in my time there. So I'm still a big workout person, but I haven't been paid to teach now in almost 2 years, which is a little crazy. But outside of that, I've been an entrepreneur kind of my whole life. I feel like just always had that inside of me. And I've done, since I graduated at NTI, where I did some of my internship hours, and then I ended up getting employed was as the nutritional health coach at Vitamin Cottage, which is now Natural Grocers. And that was a really good place for me to kind of get practice working with people.
Yes.
And it gave me good supplement training. So at the time, NTI didn't have a lot.
Right.
And I learned a lot about, different vitamins and minerals and herbs. And I opened up my practice shortly after that. But one of the best things I was able to do that I do encourage some of the NTI grads to do if they're, wanting to go down that route is I partnered with a functional medicine doctor, like a chiro neuro, and it allowed me to have access to labs that I couldn't on my own, to kind of learn about that, to work with some more complex cases. And it also just kind of built my confidence of, how much I knew, what was in my scope of practice, what wasn't. And I did that for about 5 years. And that really, I think, set me up to feel equipped to kind of do things on my own. And the other thing just to put out here that I think is valuable if you're going to go independent is I did so much networking. I just kind of knew no one was going to go to the elevator and on the 5th floor and be like, oh, I'm going to walk in the nutritionist door type of thing. That whether I was doing events at farmers markets or I joined, women's networking groups, holistic healthcare networking groups, BNI, it was a way that I could learn how to kind of pitch myself. But I built what I call like power partners. I think we work so well with acupuncturists and chiropractors or even physical therapists. And it was a way for me to quickly grow because I could refer people to the chiropractor or whomever, and simultaneously they were referring people to me. And that skill set of just kind of being in business for yourself was something that really, really helped me get going right away.
Yeah. And in those same types of organizations, there are oftentimes opportunities to do guest speaking experiences. And so that's what I did is I went out and I was a guest speaker at all kinds of meetings, women's groups, moms groups, church groups, like anywhere where that they were looking for a speaker. And all these organizations are always looking for speakers to come give presentations. And that's really how I got started, is doing those kinds of speaking engagements where you really shine. Your knowledge, your expertise, your credibility really shines. And then people are like, oh, can I have your card? And they want to come to you and see you because they recognize if you can coherently articulate the message, they recognize your knowledge and your credibility. And that's how I built my practice when I first graduated. So
I gave a lot of free lunch and learns, a lot.
Yep. Yes, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about you personally. I always like to know, we are a nutrition school. We are all foodies. So do you have like particular foods or segments of the food, wheel or whatever that you really like to incorporate into your daily habits?
Well, yes, probably. If I think about it, one of the things that I actually learned at NTI that I still try to apply today is to eat seasonally. I really think that resonates with me. It keeps me excited to cook. I think it keeps me, from preventing food allergies, that you change things up. And I tend to crave, I think like a lot of people, foods so differently in the summer than in the winter. I mean, I don't ever remember in July really craving like a roasted pumpkin or butternut squash soup.
Right.
And simultaneously, I eat a lot of, homemade acai smoothie bowls in the summer, where on a cold day in January, I don't know if that's necessarily something I go to, but I am one of those people that does really love kale. I know there's like shirts about it, like who actually really likes kale or something. And I am.
Yeah.
And we use it almost all the time. I put it in smoothies, I put it in eggs, we put it in rice, I put it in soups, when we make gluten-free pasta. There is every single week without question, lacinato or, the dino kale for sure. I'm also a big banana person. That's probably because the fitness person of me and the potassium. But
Sure. Yeah.
we do rice cakes with almond butter and banana slices on them. I give that to my stepdaughter all the time. And
Mhm.
I make like protein banana oat muffins. We have bananas in our smoothies, and that's kind of like my go-to. And especially if I travel or I'm running out the door, it's like a little snack bag of cashews and a banana. I'm
Yeah.
good to go at least for a few hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. I'm a kale person too. I I will admit that I don't eat it daily anymore. I used to eat it daily. I don't do it daily anymore, but certainly 3 or 4 times a week we're eating kale. And I do eat it more in the summertime because I grow kale, but in the wintertime,
Ooh.
pretty much 3 or 4 times a week. But yeah, I'm a kale person too. I really like kale. It's pretty darn good. And
Do you do kale chips? That's something that my family always asks, like, make the kale chips, make the kale
yeah,
chips. I'm like, okay.
yeah. A lot of times I don't carve out enough time in the day for the kale chips to actually get nice and crispy. Um, so I don't make them that often, but yeah, they like the kale chips. Yeah, definitely. Um, and so can you talk about like hobbies that you have? What do you like to do for fun and to like get out of your head and stress management and all that kind of stuff?
So fitness has been my love since I was probably 17 years old and still is. I am one of those weirdos that really loves to work out. If
Mhm.
I'm agitated or irritable, I mean, that saying of you're only one workout away from a good mood, that I'm pretty sure was written for me.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So I really do. And that in the summertime, we can hike, we can kayak, we paddleboard. I'm not a big winter sport person, even though I'm from Colorado, but we have the Peloton. I jump on it multiple times a week. Core power. I love the variety of the classes. And at any given time, especially if I want to decompress or when it's cold and I want to warm up, to hop into vinyasa flow or a yoga sculpt, absolutely love that.
Mhm.
And I would say my naughty habit, because none of us are perfect. We're winos, and we love to go wine tasting. We actually are headed to Napa next week, and that's been really fun for my husband and I to kind of do something together. That we both kind of share and our free time from work and working hard and all of that to go
Right.
do in our leisure time.
Right. Yeah. Have you gone to Grand Junction and done wine tours there?
Oh my gosh, like 20 years ago. And I'm not even confident I was legal when I was there, but I had a friend in college who was from Palisade. And that's the only time that I've actually ever been there.
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't been there in a long time either, but I do know that the vineyard business and wine business is really growing on the Western Slope. So
I've heard that as well. I have
they
done the one in
say,
Georgetown.
yeah, they say that you don't have to go all the way to Napa. We've got all these great wineries right here in our own backyard. So sorry for those of you who are not from Colorado. We're talking about it.
Now you just have to come visit.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Good. Well, um, one, oh gosh, I'm so sorry. One other thing that I wanted to ask you about is um, what kind of like where are you getting your information? Like what kind of websites are you following? What kind of podcasts are you listening to? Who are you listening to? Who are your gurus that you really follow?
So I do listen to NTIs, and I actually love some of the guest speakers that you've had, especially from like the Natural Chefs program, like because I have the passion for natural food, but I don't necessarily would say I'm an expert at preparing it.
Mhm.
And that's been great. Dr. Mark Hyman is someone that I have followed for years that I really, really like. I think his Instagram is such a good platform that he puts out simple but kind of profound information. I Some of the things that I used to follow and I've kind of steered away from. like Dr. Mercola. I think some things, and that's just my own personal opinion, but when they got to be more salesy and less educational, and there was always like a call to purchase something, didn't align with me so much. But I like to subscribe to different blogs and even things that I don't necessarily subscribe to myself, because it's good to learn. So my sister is like an avid paleo eater, and she has been, she's autoimmune, and it has made a world of difference for her. I personally don't feel great when I've eaten the paleo diet. It doesn't work well for me, but I read some of the articles that she has, I stay plugged in so that when I'm working with someone, it's fresh and I'm not regurgitating information from 2015 because it's constantly changing. Similarly to some vegan or plant-based, diets, I watch different documentaries or I read different magazines that, you get at Whole Foods or something. And even though I'm not vegan by any means, I want to make sure you're giving the best recommendation or being able to just show up with empathy for people who are choosing that lifestyle. And those are some of the places I would say that I'm mostly plugged into right now.
Yeah. I like Dr. Hyman as well. I think he's very sort of well-rounded in his discussion. He's not really
an extremist.
Yeah, he's not an extremist. And he tries to incorporate as many different food paradigms as possible, as long as it's nutrient dense foods. He's not going to tell people to go out and eat Cheetos and Twinkies, but he's very encompassing of a lot of different philosophies, and I appreciate that. And I also appreciate that you mentioned that even though you are not you wouldn't consider yourself in these different food paradigms, that you still want to learn and keep up to date of what's going on, because you could be working with clients who prefer to eat that way, and you also are teaching a variety of different principles in your course instruction. So I appreciate that you recognize that there is a need to keep up to date with all the everything that's going on, even if it's not something you're going to be eating for yourself, a particular principle. So yeah, I like that.
And it's changing all the time. At one point, I remember I was going to donate a lot of the books that I had from NTI, just not needing a purpose for them. And I started pulling them off the shelves, and I just thought, all of this is dated. It's changed. We're not even teaching some of these same principles. And, back to me growing up in Boulder, I definitely lived vicariously through my stepmom as a teenager, when soy was like the superfood. We were eating tofu and tempeh like it was never going to be around again. And then a decade later, it was, oh, wait, maybe that wasn't the best choice. And I think it's really important to kind of stay surrounded with people if you're in the profession, because it's changing all the time. And in 10 and 20 years, we're going to learn so much more. And even topics like when I graduated NTI, I don't think I had ever heard of epigenetics. I don't even remember hearing the term.
Right.
And we were just starting to talk about MTFHR, like just on the cusp, but it was one of those, don't worry about it, it's kind of out of your scope. And I fast forward since 2008 to now, and how popular those conversations are, that I think you have to surround yourself with constant knowledge, or you're going to miss it. And then you're giving people not the best information.
That's right. Yeah. It's definitely not going to be relevant. Yeah. Well, speaking of accessing online experts, how can people find out about you? Do you have an Instagram? Do you have Facebook? Do you have a handle?
I know, right? All the different language. I'm not on TikTok. I don't do reels, and I don't do silly videos yet. My stepdaughter was like, you should make all these recipes and dance to them. And I'm thinking, no, I don't have time for that. But I am on Instagram at Life with Lauren Danielle. And I'm also on Facebook, Lauren Danielle Fryerson. So Lauren Danielle is my middle name. You probably see it here on the video. I'm formerly Sims, but I started kind of undergoing my middle name years back when I knew I was going to get married and didn't want to brand that maiden name too much. So a lot of my social is under my middle, but Instagram is Life with Lauren Danielle. And then Facebook is Lauren Danielle Fryerson. And my website right now, I'm redoing the nutrition one. The only website that's up is for my speaker page, which has to do with the speaking that I do outside of NTI, and that's laurendaniellespeaks.com.
Great. I love that. That's nice. Lauren Danielle Speaks. All right, good. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I think that people always like to get to know our instructors and know a little bit about who's teaching them. Even if they've already taken the course, it's sometimes fun to listen back to an instructor that you may have had previously. And certainly for prospective students who are interested in NTI as their school of choice, um, it's helpful for them to see who the instructors are. So I appreciate you taking the time today, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. And I will just say, if anybody ever wants to reach out to ask me questions, if you're considering the school and have questions on why I chose it or why I would choose it tenfold again, or, as you graduate and you're, looking for career options, or, just want to pick my brain, that's an open invitation. I'd be more than happy to help a fellow or current NTI grad student prospect.
Nice. Good. Well, thank you for that. That's very generous of you. Thank you. All right. Well, Lauren, have a great day. And it was really good talking to you.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye.